What's up, YouTube? Today is Sunday, July 6th, and this is my week in review. So, as usual, we're going to start off with the focuses for the week, and really one primary focus this week, which was alignment. And that's alignment on a business front, but also just life as a whole, really aligning my daily habits and routines with the goals that I have, ambitions, and really the lifestyle that I want to be living. I feel like this is a never-ending process, and this week I just really wanted to hone in because we're entering a very, very busy period with life and business. So if these aren't kind of locked down, then it's going to just become harder later on to integrate them. So aligning on all of that, but then also aligning with our team and partners that I'm working with and things like that, because again, busy period for business. On the business front, there were a few key items that I needed to pay extra attention to this week. Number one is the end of June, beginning of July, which meant invoicing, planning for this next month. There were also some renewal conversations that we're going to have. So it was important that we start aligning on that now, planning for it now, and make sure that we're set for the month. Next, we had a drop today, actually, July 6th for 28. 28 is a sportswear brand based out of the UK that I work with as like a marketing growth partner. And so this week was a lot of planning, again, that word alignment, and execution for that campaign to make sure I could support a lot of sales. Happy to report 2 hours post-drop is going very well. So that was a big one. And then the last one was team alignment. So my team is small. It is me, my partner, Taya, that is my life partner as well as my business partner, and then Jillian. We are the three that are working on things most of the time. Jillian joined us as like an intern and has been sticking with us since. So she works a lot on creative, but also supports on some execution and things. And then my partner and I kind of, handle things together. We really needed to align on the plan for really July and August because we have two different businesses launching within that time span. And then we have other, client work happening, prospects, just a lot moving. So we need to make sure that we are all on the same page, make sure we're supporting each other and communicating with each other in the best way. And part of that I really wanted to pay attention to this week was Notion, because I like Notion, but I have struggled to use it efficiently. So I spent a couple of days this week digging into it and setting up systems that would help us communicate better, but also, support that growth that we're anticipating. All right, now to get into the learnings, which is kind of the meat of this type of video. And the reason why I like to do these videos is because I could talk a lot about business as a whole and strategies and tactics and things like that, and I'd be happy to share anything like that. But I like to share this because there are so many things that I'm learning on a daily, weekly basis about life as I work in business, in e-com with people. I also put such a huge focus on personal growth and my own development that it just makes sense to talk through this because it is on my mind constantly. So first one for Monday was getting addicted to the output. Now this one came up because I noticed that I was looking at my TikTok performance a little too much. I don't post on there a lot, but I just started to post more consistently within the past week or two. And I realized that I was letting my emotions get tied to the, performance of the videos. And I've had that happen in other ways, like whenever I've had Shopify stores up and I'm paying too much attention to the sales or, any marker of success. It's really easy to get looped in and really just obsess over it. So that is when you're addicted to the outcome. And that is so easy to do, and I think most people fall into that trap, and I don't think everyone comes out of it. So what I started to think about was getting addicted to the output instead and letting that be my focus. So instead of finding that gratification from, I did this and this was the response and that's what satisfies me, that's what I get my fulfillment from. Instead, it's the actual output that I'm working to find fulfilling. With that, that was pretty well like directly tied into this other one, which is the instant versus delayed gratification. Now, I have a good example for this. And the reason why I thought about it was because I realized that most of the things that I'm doing in my life on a daily basis are tied to delayed gratification. Now, this is building businesses. This is the partnerships that I'm taking on. There are partners that I work with, brand partners that I'm investing in early with my time and effort to hopefully grow with them as their brands build. It's the fitness journey and knowing that on a day-to-day basis, I'm not going to see changes and growth, but it's a long-term journey. It's delayed. So just thinking through things like that, I started to think about people's relationships with instant and delayed gratification and how it shows up in my life, but how it shows up in society as well. Instant gratification is everything right now. It is our phones, our computers, our AirPods, our Netflix. People are consuming constantly, and I don't think everyone realizes that is that gratification, right? If you are constantly consuming, you are not allowing your brain to be bored. You're not allowing yourself to have to wait for anything because you're saying, I want to be entertained, and you turn it on. Alongside the consumption and the entertainment, there's also the aspect of being able to order something and have it delivered immediately. Whether that's food or shopping, the impulse purchases and things like that. We just don't have to deal with much discomfort unless you intentionally add discomfort into your life, or you are in a life situation that is unfavorable, which is the reality for a lot of people. So I started to think about this in a very specific way. So I want you to view the actions and decisions that you are making on a day-to-day basis as investing into your life. It is literally a life investment. Slots, that is instant gratification. I literally see in my head, the person that's sitting at the slot machine and is just, hitting the button over and over. Their eyes are glazed over. Maybe they're pulling the thing. They're zoned out and they're seeking that one moment of satisfaction. They're waiting for the time when it's like, finally. And they're saying, maybe next time will be different. Maybe this time I'll hit it big and all of this will be worth it. All of my, gambling will be worth it. This is how I view the people who day by day are giving in to that instant gratification. They're waking up on their phone, staring at their phone. Maybe they're working throughout the day, but they're constantly giving in to any distraction and any comfort that they can. Where they say, well, it'd be easier to, on a small scale, it's like it'd be easier to go through the drive-thru. I'll do that so I don't have to get out of my car. That single decision doesn't seem big, but every decision is compounding. So if you're doing that and then you're also ordering out and then you're also, I'm not going to go to Walmart or Target, whatever, I'm going to just order this off of Amazon. It is constant instant gratification, and then you're back on your phone, and then you're binging shows, and then maybe you're walking your dog, but you're also listening to something. Giving into those actions constantly is playing the slot machine in your life. You're hoping that one day those same actions will make a difference. Like something will change suddenly. And it's just not likely to happen. But this is also, and the biggest part of this is it's harmful. It's harmful to your mental health, can be very harmful to your physical health. Now, on the other side, those delayed gratification actions and choices are like index funds or Roth IRA or whatever reference you want to make to investing. But it's the long term. It's knowing like, I'm not going to benefit from this right now, but I'm going to be really happy about it in the future. So this is the lens that I've been viewing it through. And it's been very, very helpful to me because I don't want to feel like I'm just playing the slot machine in my life. I want to make good intentional investments on a daily basis. What happened Tuesday was at some point in time, I realized that I was in a bad mood. I was really frustrated by it. I was frustrated by something. I don't remember what now. Clearly, it wasn't that important. But I stopped and I said, okay, this happened. This is how I feel. This is how the day's going. Now, how do I reset and how do I reframe? How do I not let this moment change the rest of my day? And there are a few things that I feel really helped that I'll share because I think that this is something a lot of people struggle with, and you shouldn't have to throw away any moment or any day because you say, "Oh, it's just a bad day." Like, you don't have to do that. You can take control over it. So, one thing that I like are rooting habits. So, these are things that I have on a daily basis, and I'll share mine, but I have these on a daily basis where if I need to take a moment and reset and say, okay, like I'm good, connect back to my purpose, to my goals, all of that, to the overall vision, this is how I do it in my rooting habits. So in the morning, it's walking my dog and it's doing cold exposure. Cold exposure for me is putting my face into a bowl of ice water. It's nothing crazy, but that's my morning. The afternoon, it's movement. It's the way to break up my day. If I'm feeling sluggish or out of it in my work, I'm able to step away, get some movement in, and come back better. In the evening, it's doing a reset. So, like, I have a notebook where I write down all my to dos. It's doing any tidying that needs to happen, and it's also reading before bed. So, having rooting habits where you're able to say, you know what, I'm just gonna stop and I'm gonna give myself a minute and do this thing that I know connects me, then I can come back and be in a better headspace. Now, another one, which is similar, and I mean, really, I say similar, but they're the same thing, is just mindfulness. Mindfulness is talked about, but it's still underrated. And even having the ability to say, I am having a hard time, I'm in a bad mood, today is not feeling great. Being able to acknowledge that and want to come out of it is mindfulness. But then it's saying, okay, do I need to take a minute? Do I need to sit with my own thoughts, to sit with myself for a second? And this key here is what will help bring you back to yourself. So both of these are really just about bringing you back to you. That's how you reset. All right, on to Wednesday. Wednesday, again, kind of a simple one and really not that different from Tuesday. But staying level headed is a superpower. And I specifically wrote that controlling your reactions is the superpower because being reactive drains your energy. Really, this comes from Stoicism, and I will admit that I have been reading meditations again. And the ability to have something happen and take it in and not give a reaction immediately is very, very powerful. Not only is it powerful in like a relationship standpoint, like, and I'm saying like business, but also social relationships, where if you are the person that is steady, that doesn't react immediately in a situation, people are going to look to you and say like, that's the person that we follow. That's the person we listen to, because you aren't reactive. You aren't acting out of like immaturity or inexperience or anything like that. You're acting purely out of experience and logic. And that's kind of the key, right? Is logic. How do you get to logic when something happens? It's time. Because a reactive brain is not a logical brain. So if you can give yourself minutes, hours, whatever to process and to step back and say, okay, here's my experience from my own perspective. Here's the experience from the other perspective. If there's another person or people in the situation, what are they feeling? What's their experience? What's their perception of me and the whole situation? And then overall, is there actually an issue? What actually happened? And is a reaction warranted? Do I need to do anything about this? Do I need to say anything? Do I need to feel anything? So I experienced this directly actually later in the week than Wednesday, where I had a moment where I got really frustrated and I thought about this and I thought about, it being a superpower. And so I had an emotional reaction because someone frustrated me. And then I immediately was like, okay, why am I reacting this way? Understood that. Why are they reacting that way? understood that, and then tried to find the gaps in communication. And then once I worked through that, I realized that both of our reactions were actually warranted. Could we have communicated better? Yes. But really, it was just in that specific situation a reality of working in a digital world. Now, the next is Thursday. Every job is people. This is, again, I'll admit, this came from meditations. Because I think that this is just like a statement in there at some point where he says every job is people. I talked to my barber about this week because obviously his job is people, where it's like it is hair, but it's more importantly it's people, and my job is people too. Yes, I make ads, I build brands, and I design things and strategize and build business, but outside of all that, it's really about working with people and understanding people. You think about like people who are in sales, and it's like they are building their tactics and strategies around psychology and how to interact with people. But if you break down every single job, it's just people. It's either with people, for people, about people. So the more that you understand people as a whole, the better. And that is, thinking empathy. How can you put yourself in other people's shoes? If you can get good at that and seeing other perspectives and again, not being reactive, if you can get really good at empathy and understanding, it's truly like, I don't want to call it a hack, but it feels like a bit of a hack for business because that is the key. It's, how you get relationships and networking, and it's also how you can sell to people because business is about selling. So how are you going to sell to people if you don't understand them? Intentions plus clarity equals movement. Something that I feel like I deal with not often, but every month or 2 months is I have a moment where I say, why is nothing moving on this? I feel frustrated because I feel like things should be happening and they just aren't. And I'm like, I feel like I'm putting work in, but what's the disconnect here? And sometimes whenever I have a moment like that, I realize that in my mind, I am not clear on what I want. So if I'm not clear, if I don't have my intentions set, how is the universe supposed to deliver anything to me? Because I'm not opening that path, right? I'm maybe even resisting the path. So with this one in particular, this came from decisions that needed to be made around one of our businesses, Low Tide, which is our digital studio. It's something that, honestly, the original version of that business was started in like 2019 or 2020 and used to be called Ace Media. I worked full-time jobs for a long time, did that on the side or between jobs. Last year, rebranded, dug back in, Low Tide was born, and it has been very successful for us. But it's never been viewed as like an end goal, like we want to grow that, we want that to be our thing because we have other stuff we're working on too. I realized that it is fruitful, but we needed to sit down and create some clarity around it and say, okay, if we just want it to be something that we're doing now, that's okay, but we need to be clear. If it's something that we want to grow, great, we need to be clear. We need to understand what that looks like so that then the universe can deliver whatever might be available for it. So it was a whole conversation about like what we want, what we like, things like that. We have a bunch of ugly illustrations from it. We have a whole fig jam board from it. This, to me, is something that people struggle with a lot. I've seen people struggle with it. Like I just said, I've been there because what they want is movement always. They want the movement, but they are afraid to set these. They're afraid to get really clear on what they want because clarity, especially, some people will say like, well, I don't really know what's possible, instead of saying what they think is possible, right? Or there's that fear aspect of like, well, that seems like too much. That's too big of an ask. That's just like not within the realm of possibility for me. So people hold themselves back from finding that clarity. So what you have to do is search past the fear and say, if I had no fear, if I had no issue with resource or anything like that, what do I want? what do I want to see, what do I want to seek, and get really clear on that and what you want your life to be, what you want your business to be, whatever it is. You do that, and then you set the intentions and say like, okay, I understand. Now, these are my intentions with it. This is my why. This is very clearly what I want to happen. These are my intentional actions I'm going to take, because the universe also does not reward laziness. You have to take action. And then from those, that's what brings movement. So you can't get stuck in that cycle of fear. Now, the last thing that I have on here is the Saturday reset. So yesterday I sat down with my partner Taya and we talked through life as a whole, because this was kind of like our 6-month check-in. Life as a whole, business as a whole, big picture thinking. We have goals that we set at the beginning of the year written out, and we did a check-in on it. We gave ourselves a rating on how well we're doing on those, and we set intentions for the remainder of the year. So we said, okay, this is how far we are. It's, the beginning of July now. This is where we need to go. This is the work that needs to be done. And from that, we also identified any gaps in our behavior. So along with our goals at the end of last year, we sat down and wrote some really good things that happened, a list of 10, but then we also identified the habits and behaviors for each one. So we have categories here, just a list of habits and behaviors. We have categories where it says income. What did we do to reach our income goals and surpass them? Things like setting big goals, being afraid and doing it anyway, dedication to being a high performer, and things like that. We have a section for business opportunities. Again, be afraid and do it anyway is a big one. Top communication, speed. Speed is a really big aspect. So we just wrote down what was contributing to this success, what was contributing to the growth. And so whenever we did our review yesterday, we went back through these to try to identify any of them that we were slacking on. And there were a few where we said, we used to be a lot better about this. We can improve on it now. Like, we need to bring this back in. Days like that are always very helpful to me because, like I just mentioned on my Friday learning, it's about having that clarity and having those intentions. That was this week. I'll be back next weekend with another review. If you have any thoughts, questions, you can drop them below, and I'll see you soon.